Hello and welcome back. My name is Lauren, and today I am going to be looking at Rebecca Needs a Drink in the Afterlife. My poor beloved Rebecca. I adored her very much when I was watching Cyberpunk. If you want to see me react to those, you can go ahead and take a peek in the end. We'll have that linked. You can join our Patreon if you want to see those unedited. But in any case, I wanted to give this poor girl a drink. I wanted to see what our lovely friends at How to Drink would be able to make for her. So let us go delving back into Cyberpunk 2077 and give our girl what she truly
I'm
deserves.
going back to Cyberpunk. I'm going to Edge Runners. I'm going to make a drink for Rebecca. Today on How to Drink, I'm going back to Cyberpunk. I'm going to Edge Runners. I'm going to make a drink for Rebecca. I'm going to 2077. We're going to make a drink for V, who did die and came back. And we are in. All right, well, that was a pretty cheesy opening, admittedly, but I do kind of feel like I've got to stick with the mold here that I established on my first Cyberpunk video. It's like funny now, like Cyberpunk is just going to be a recurring theme on How to Drink. I don't know why, but why not? And of course, Cyberpunk is the tabletop role-playing game created by Mike Pondsmith in like 1982 or 1984, 80X, 1980X. Which is perfectly cyberpunk. And it's been adapted into Cyberpunk 2077, the hit role-playing game by CD Projekt Red. It's undeniable that 2077 shipped with a lot of bugs, and people come at me in the comments when I call it a hit because they didn't like the bugs that were in it. No, that's not what hit means. It means it outsold like everything else. That's a hit. It did very well. It's getting a sequel. That's a hit. It got a spin-off, an anime spin-off, Cyberpunk Edge Runners, which we're doing another drink from today, that was a massive hit as well. I don't know. I think it's a hit. I think we could call that a hit, and you guys are just trolls. A lot of people in the comments were telling me, hey, you got to make a drink for Rebecca. Rebecca, she's a great character to do a drink from. She deserves a drink in the afterlife, for sure. And Maine, I said, no, Maine dies like a chump. He didn't go out in a big enough way to get a drink in the afterlife.
Maine, my beloved.
And somebody pointed out you should probably consider making a drink for V. V is the protagonist of Cyberpunk 2077. In the prologue of 2077, V does technically die quite spectacularly and is then resurrected by the digital ghost of Johnny Silverhand. And a quick thing about the Afterlife. The Afterlife is a bar that is built in an old morgue. All the drinks are named for mercenaries who died spectacularly in the line of duty while performing illegal activities. My headcanon for that is that, well, like everything in Cyberpunk, it's a highly commercialized, almost themed tourist bar at this point. Everybody knows about the Afterlife. It's not like a secret club anymore. And the drinks are named for these spectacular solos, not because that's what they liked to drink, but because you can trade on their namesake and sell really cheap mixed drinks for top dollar. For me, I don't want to do that. And I also don't want to mix up like sodium hydrochlorobenzene flavorant whatevers, because everything should be artificial too. I always operate from the assumption, the pretend assumption, that the drinks are good, or they should be good. And
I like that. It's a good assumption to make, sir.
At least a little bit more complicated. Today, we're definitely going to go in that direction. I'm going to make a drink for Rebecca, and I'm going to make a drink for V. Let's start with Rebecca. Let's go with Rebecca first. Rebecca is one of the main characters in Cyberpunk Edge Runners. She has a really iconic look. I thought about her eyes a lot when I was working on this drink, right? And they're like red and green ringed. I'm coming to why. That is a component of how I got here. And I also thought about how she bites it in Cyberpunk Edge Runners. And if you haven't seen that, you should. And if you haven't seen that, here comes a spoiler. She bites it by being smashed into the earth by Adam Smasher, one of the legendary bad guys in all of the Cyberpunk lore, who somehow manages to just stay alive for hundreds and hundreds of years. So I'm gonna make a drink called the Rebecca Smash. I have to pat myself on the back just a little.
Oh, rude! Oh no, that's rude!
I'm saying that Rebecca Smash for the Rebecca who was smashed to death by Adam Smasher. Pretty good. I think I got it there. So a smash typically.
I loved her, and she lasted so long. Like, a lot of that crew died kind of quick. She stayed for so long.
Involves crushed or sliced lemons instead of lemon juice, so that's what we're gonna do here. I'm gonna throw 4 of them wedges right here into my small tin. I'm gonna put in 6 to 8 mint leaves. This mint is amazing though, by the way. This is mint we got at the grocery store. This is my new system for keeping mint fresh. It's called Shocking the Mint. I should almost do like an episode or maybe a short about that or something. Maybe I'll do it on TikTok. I don't know. It's unbelievable. It's a process by which you can shock the mint and it will stay fresh for like a week, just like this, non-refrigerated. So it's pretty damn neat. Although the water apparently does get kind of murky. Maybe use something that's not clear for that purpose. 6 to 8 mint leaves. So I originally worked up this recipe using some cherry hearing and also some simple. I have since reworked it to use a cherry simple syrup that I made. I'll tell you how easy this is to make. I got the tart cherry juice from Trader Joe's. I mixed it 1 part tart cherry juice.
I will say, we'll listen to his cherry juice talk in a second, but we do something similar with our mint at work. I want to know what he does to get his to last a full week. Ours usually lasts like 3 or 4 days. No, honestly, it can last a while. It can last a while. I want to know what he does though, because like, if I can get our mint to last a little bit longer, that would be great, because we use mint in a lot of our drinks.
So 2 parts sugar by weight, and I cooked them to a boil, and it made a delicious cherry syrup. So I think that's 3/4 ounce of this, and 2 ounces of whiskey. I happen to have this bottle of Akashi Japanese whiskey. I grabbed this because we had it, and because it seems really on point for our setting and our everything about cyberpunk. We're gonna use 2 ounces. The thing I think you should know about Japanese whiskey is that, unless I'm mistaken, and they've suddenly recently changed it, like in the past year, there's like no rules governing what Japanese whiskey is. So like a lot of it is blended Scotch that they buy in Scotland and then import and rebottle. Some of it might be bourbon, whatever. That's not universally true. Some of the Japanese whiskey brands are very above board, like Nika, for example, I think is one that you can really trust. I don't actually know anything about this. I just happen to have the bottle and I thought it would be a great thematic choice. So we're gonna use it. You should use the whiskey you like. And if you like this thematic choice, I'm pretty sure this will be available at Curiata, drink.curiata.com. 2 ounces, there we go. At that point now, I'm going to muddle. Okay, there we go. We've muddled our lemons and our whiskey and our mint and our cherries all together. Yum, yum,
Nice.
yummity dum. We're gonna shake this over ice. 1 in there, crack it. Boy, is fresh ice easier to work with, Jesus. I know that sounds stupid, but it really does make a difference. That frost on the outside that builds up over ice and on ice in a freezer can really interfere with my ability to crack it.
I can't crack ice like that at all though, so he wins.
There we go. It's gonna try to go into this little diamond glass if possible. I've got my neat future glass here. Even though this is a smash, I am going to strain it into that glass. Cyberpunk, one of the rules is that style is everything. Style over function, form over function. I'm gonna take a little Midori and we're gonna sink it into the bottom there, just for an effect. Got those green and red things going on with our Rebecca in her eyes. Hit it with a little bit of mint. Put that in there.
Yep.
And there it is, the Rebecca.
You do want to do that. You do want to like smack the mint to if you're gonna use it, especially as a garnish. It helps release like the oils and the scents in there, and it just makes it taste a little bit stronger, like mint. So that's something that you do always want to do. I like to see him do it. I feel like I've probably mentioned it before. I've probably seen him do it before and mentioned it, but a lot of places don't do it. Like I was making mojitos when I was at the beach this summer with my family, and like my mom was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "You want it to taste minty, right? Like, you gotta smack it."
Rebecca. I do think this drink goes with a straw. So there we are, the Rebecca, as I believe it should be served at the Afterlife. I can't speak. So what the thing with the straw is right now I'm in the Midori. You want to moderate that, right? You can take your straw up and down and sample from different depths and get different mixtures of Midori and also of the rest of the cocktail. That's great. That is cool. That is a really well-balanced, tart, minty, cherry-y, whiskey-y smash. And actually you get little hints of the Midori kind of complementing the mint, which I know they're just green together, but they do actually really seem to work off of each other really well. The Midori adds this twist to it, this extra little bit of roundness, this extra sweetness. It's almost apple-ish, but I know it's a melon liqueur. I don't want to just tell you tastes like melon. It does taste like melon, but I somehow feel like that's not enough of a descriptor. Specifically, I think it's like a kind of a honeydewish flavor, by the way, as opposed to like a watermelon or a cantaloupe. I don't know any other melons, by the way. Rebecca, we hardly knew you. So right after this, I'm going to make a drink for V, the protagonist from Cyberpunk 2077.
Hey, And I have not played any of Cyberpunk 2077, so I don't know anything about V. But Rebecca, my beloved, I've missed you. You were so great. I really, really loved her character in the show. But I feel like at the time when she died in the show, I was so caught up in like literally everything else. I was already just like, I was in nonstop tears that like whole episode. So I'm just like, it did. I feel like maybe it got lost in the sauce a little bit of all the nonsense, but my baby.
So we're back from visiting with Corpo Greg, and we are moving on now to the V. This is a cocktail for a man who died and came back from the grave. Because, you know, V gets shot in the head, and then the ghost chip of Johnny Silverhand integrates itself into his DNA, his brain, and it wakes him up by poisoning his brain with it. Johnniness gets up in him. Which, by the way, I did a whole like dissertation last time about the core question about cyberpunk is what is human being? What is humanity? What is free will? Cyberpunk 2077 right there gets right into that at the core of it. You know, we get into the question of what is an individual. I thought about that, right? I'd previously made a drink called the Johnny Silverhand, and it was based directly off of the recipe that was given in game. I'm making 2 drinks here, by the way, that there is no in-game, in-world recipe for, so I get to do whatever I want. Johnny Silverhand
Nice.
was a shot of tequila, some red chili powder, and with a cerveza on top, is how it's described. I made that as like a weird tequila beer float with a rim of chipotle powder. That drink, actually, I made that before the game came out. I'm very proud to say that CD Projekt Red saw it, liked it, changed the appearance of the in-game model to match mine. And to that end, I'm really sorry about all the launch bugs. You know, that was entirely my fault. That's the established drink for the Johnny Silverhand. And I had this idea of merging one drink and the Johnny Silverhand to be V's drink because of the idea that V and Johnny are merging after V gets shot, right? And of course, the first drink that came to mind for V was a corpse survivor. So this is going to basically be taking bits of a corpse survivor and bits of the Johnny Silverhand and putting them together into a new drink for V, the Gestalt of Silverhand. I'm gonna need another lemon because I foolishly cut that entire lemon into quarters. Like, okay, slice that guy in half. Yeah, we're gonna do 3/4 of an ounce of lemon juice, 3/4 of an ounce of orange curacao.
Orange curacao.
You can use Grand Marnier here too. Or you can swing by Curiata, drink.curiata.com, and pick yourself up a bottle of curacao right in the mail, direct to you. I need 3/4 of an ounce of Lily.
I really do think I have to go to Curiata at some, like, I want to, I'll have to decide. Is it cheaper to go to Binny's or is it cheaper to do Curiata? Either way.
Blanc. And it is weird to shake a drink that's got Lillet Blanc in it, but that's okay. I don't know why it's weird. It's not really weird. It feels weird. Why am I shaking this drink instead of stirring it? Well, it's got lemon juice in it. So. And now I need 3/4 of an ounce tequila. Well, I thought I needed 3/4 of an ounce tequila. I originally worked this up and spec'd it with tequila. I used Fortaleza Reposado, although that's the Blanco. I'm kind of low on the Reposado, which is part of the instinct I had here to reach for something else. The other thing is that I kind of started playing around with this mezcal. I think it's called Wa. Comes in a very cool cyberpunk bottle.
That is cool.
Admittedly, part of my instinct here. But I was playing around. This is a really buttery, really smooth mezcal. It's not that much more mezcal-y than a nice tequila, to be honest. And I feel like it's going to make a very fun drink. And there's not really, I don't do enough.
It kind of looks brutalist, or like I'm getting more like Star Wars vibes, I think, than cyberpunk vibes. Needs more neon.
Drinks with mezcal in it, so 3/4 of an ounce of this mezcal. So that's everything that goes into the drink. It's ready to shake. I'm going to take a pause here to rim our serving glass. So we're going to rim our glass with chili, which I should warn you forms like a impenetrable glue-like substance. So only do a portion of the glass. It's kind of tricky to clean off, to be honest. I'm going to do, either about half the rim or maybe a little less than half the rim. Take your lemon. But when you rim a drink, you don't want to rim the inside of the glass. You don't want to affect what you pour into the drink. You want to give the imbiber the option to include it in their sip. Glass is going to stand by while I shake the drink. One big, one small.
I mean, whenever I do a drink that's got a rim, I always just ask if they want the rim, and then I just do half the rim usually. Unless it's a margarita. If it's a margarita, you're getting a full rim of salt. But,
And I'm going to double strain this just to quickly get rid of all the ice that's in there. I like the idea of floating a little Angostura across the top of this. There's another way to do that or something similar enough. This is an atomizer. It's actually the Jeffrey Morgenthaler atomizer. It's a lot like a misto, right? So you pump it up, you pressurize it. What I like about his, by the way, is that you can twist this, maybe not now that I've got it full, but you can basically color code it with different colors. I use red for Angostura. So you can have 4 of these, and they could all have different stuff in them. And just a little spritz, right? Here we go. There you go. There's the V with elements of both the Johnny Silverhand and a corpse survivor and a good splash of blood on the top of it from, I guess, all the blood that V spilled and also having his brains blown out.
I like it.
Let's see how we did. That is an exciting drink. That'll wake you up. I think that's a mezcal corpse survivor is a good idea. If you take a little tongue of the chipotle too, it's really spicy. Chipotle. I've been called a boomer for calling it chipotle.
Chipotle. Oh, chipotle. Chipotle. Yeah.
Just make it doesn't fit in your mouth as easy.
The boomer pronunciation is chipotle. That's what my mom
Chipotle.
Chipotle. No, chipotle. It's chipotle. How was he saying he said it? Chipotle? Chipotle just... Okay, I don't know. Maybe... Like, just say it like it's spelt.
Chipotle.
The lemon. Lillet. The mezcal. That mezcal, not a super
It's the
punchy
rock,
mezcal.
the trouble.
Means. Moderated here, you get just this perfect level, for me, smoky mezcal acrid, but you also still have the buttery agave notes that I so associate with a nice tequila. When you opt to pair that with a little lick of the garnish, really fun things happen. Because now, you're amping up the heat on the whole thing. It accentuates all the other flavors. It brings them all to the fore. The chipotle has a little smoke to it, of course. It's a smoked chili pepper. That actually, I don't think that actually outcompetes the level of smoke we're already getting from the mezcal. They kind of just become one. The Angostura bitters, frankly, I could do with a lot more Angostura bitters on this than just that little spritz. It does look really cool. My original thoughts was to float Angostura on the top of this. I'm gonna see just how that works out as a test right.
I want to know where he got that collar thing. I really like it.
I love this drink. I am just gonna see if a little more something with a little float here, Vango, or if this is gonna sink right in. I hope not. Wow. And watching that spread across the surface like a cloud of blood is pretty fucking cool. All right,
It's pretty
do the float.
That's like kind of James Bondy too. That's cool.
Like I'd originally thought. Let's see how this drink is now. It's gonna be very different. We're gonna get a lot of cinnamon, a lot of demerara, a lot of allspice. But we're also gonna get those other parts of it. Oh, I like that a lot. Do that. Yes. Nothing is missing. Everything is louder. It now has this finish, though, of this drying kind of bitterness that I really enjoy. Let me try it with the chipotle. I love the way the smoky mezcal meets up with the lemon and the curacao here. That flavor trio is a bit like a mezcal margarita, except that instead of lime, you have lemon, which are wildly different flavors. The Little A introduces a very...
I had somebody the other day who was like, well, we can just use... I was like, you cannot use lemon. The drink has lime in it. Don't try and put lemon in there. That's not right. Don't do it. Don't do it. It's so different.
Light touch of sweetness and mellowing. It kind of lengthens out the other flavors. It kind of just gives them a little more space to evolve. With the Angostura now on top, we're confronted right away before anything else comes in with this allspice, clove, and cinnamon and the other mysterious ingredients that go into it right up the front. Rest of the drink comes in, and then we finish again in this combination of the mezcal smoke and the drying kind of acrid bitterness that's left over from the Angostura bitters. Just being able to smell that as you drink it, because it's a powerful odor, is going to change the character of the drink for you as well. But there's like chemical reactions happening in here. You can see like ripples moving through it.
Oh,
it's really
weird.
Cool. I'm happy. I'm pleased. This feels like a V drink. It's back from the dead, merged with Johnny Silverhand. Definitely do the float of Ango. I chickened out. I don't know why I chickened out. Don't do the spritz. Do the float. It's a good spritzer. I'll put a link to it, but do the float. The float's the way to go. It also harkens back to the float in the Johnny Silverhand. So, sometimes you second guess yourself. Your first instinct was right, One of the critiques of cyberpunk as a genre that comes up is that it is based on Orientalism and othering of people from Japan.
Orientalism was more about justifying Western imperialism, so maybe not quite the right term here.
Particularly of Japan. An 80s fear that Japan was going to supplant the US as like a major world superpower. I am not like broadly speaking, enmeshed in every piece of cyberpunk literature or media ever made. So that may be more true in some of the other stuff I've seen. I really only pay attention to William Gibson. William Gibson and the stuff I referenced, right? Like the progenitor of the genre before it became really just kind of an aesthetic and got watered down. William Gibson, Ridley Scott, that's really where it is for me. Kira, for example.
I mean, I didn't know any of that stuff that he just said.
Which is certainly not about Orientalism. It is a Japanese piece of media. I guess my question to myself is, one, is that a fair assessment? I have to assume that it is, right? That a lot of cyberpunk media is of that ilk. But are you receiving that message as, another cyberpunk piece of fiction, RoboCop. Very good, RoboCop. Don't discredit RoboCop. Top-notch stuff. Very much cyberpunk. But yeah, like I always looked at the cyberpunk media I consumed as being like a post-racism society by and large, where like there was this massive global intermingling of races and cultures from all around the planet. I always thought it was cool. I thought, here's a positive of this world. We've solved one problem. We have 400,000 other problems that have been created by rampant consumerism and capitalism and and fascism. But
yeah, I definitely saw it more as a like the cyberpunk thing that I was looking in other versions of it do seem to be like, this is what happens with rampant capitalism, when capitalism is allowed to go too far. And honestly, like you can see things in cyberpunk, the show, and like, and also the genre itself. And it's like, you can see where it's starting here and now in our lives. It's like, oh, we're kind of at level 1 of that. They're at level 10, but like, we're not backing. We're climbing that ladder in a lot of ways. We're learning stuff today.
We solved the racism problem. That is always how I felt to me. And then I've got people telling me like, no, cyberpunk is an inherently racist genre. I question that. I don't deny it. I say, okay, maybe you're right. I have to think about that. But let's put it aside for me, whether or not that is true about its origins. My question is, are you receiving those messages and symbols? And if you are not, is the author dead?
See, like that's always what I've wondered too. Like there are certain stereotypes or creations out there that people are like, well, it's racist in general. And I'm like, I would have had no idea if you didn't tell me that it was racist. So I mean, I'm glad that I'm aware now, but then it's just a question of like, well, like but I didn't know that, and now I do. But most people I've talked to didn't know that. Like people will talk about like goblins in a lot of different stories are often considered a anti-Semitic. Like they're anti-Semitic, and it's like I can see that now that you've mentioned it to me. So it's like, okay, I guess I've got to be careful with your goblins, but because I can see it, but I wouldn't have thought about it. So I'm just like, maybe that's because I'm coming from a place of privilege, and I don't have to think about it. But I don't know. So like that's confusing a little bit to me as well. I'm like, yeah, is he correct? Is the author dead? Because like I never ever would have considered cyberpunk as being like racist or anti-Japanese or something. It wouldn't have crossed my mind. I had no idea until just now. So again, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm coming from a place of privilege that like I just don't see it in a lot of ways. There's some things I can see. There's some things that are explicitly obvious. It's like, it's nuts. But there are other things that I'm like, I don't know. I don't see it. I'm sorry. And then the only thing you can do is if people are like, well, this is racist, it makes me uncomfortable, then you say, okay, I'm sorry, and then you don't do that thing anymore. It's not that difficult to stop doing the thing or stop saying the thing that people are telling you it's racist. Just be like, okay, and end it. But I don't know. I feel like there are things too where it's just like, I didn't see it. I wasn't like being groomed to think badly of somebody else because I imbibed this media. Like I would not have put together to like villain code drag queens because Ursula was based on a drag queen and she's a bad guy. Like it wouldn't have crossed my mind. Like that kind of connection it wouldn't have made a connection. There wouldn't have been a connection in my brain. Ursula was bad. That doesn't mean anything. Like, it's a self-contained thing. I don't know. Ignore it. It's fine. We'll just listen to what he has to say.
Like, does it matter where it really came from? If those are now sort of invisible, bygone, useless symbolisms that are vestigial and just gone, and now it takes on this whole new meaning for you, decades removed from its origin point? I don't really have a good answer. I know there are people who would shake their head at me and say, you are dead wrong. Absolutely, those things matter. And I think that sometimes they do, certainly when they work as a dog whistle for people who are still in that
That'll
space.
give him, yes.
Meredith is nodding, and she's interchangeably nodding and shaking her head behind me.
I'm listening. I'm taking it in.
Yeah. So I just don't know. I don't know. That's it. I just don't really have. It's something I would just thought, like, that's a topic about cyberpunk we can talk about, but I don't really have a position on it, except to say that, like, in the media that falls into the cyberpunk genre that I have consumed, I haven't seen it. But also, I've only ever consumed a very narrow, slice of cyberpunk fiction.
That's true. I'll give him that too. Like, again, makes perfect sense. I don't know. So, if you can help me out with that, please do. If you got a thought about it, tell me how I'm wrong. Like, I am always open to learning and trying to change, if I need to. Like, I'm well open to that, so.
If that makes any sense. And that's probably true of anybody. Like, there are very few people who have just been like, nope, every single thing, I'm on it. Like, there's a lot of stuff out there, You're down into the fan fictions too, Like, I don't know. I got what I got. What are your thoughts on that one, Meredith?
Is Fifth Element cyberpunk?
Great question. No, it's space fantasy. Fifth Element, by the way, really interesting thing. A lot of people may not be aware of this. It's strongly inspired by an animated sequence from the movie Heavy Metal, which, by the way, R.E. David, who is a regular in my cyberpunk actual play, works for, and they made a film of it, from it, an anthology in the 70s with like 4 stories, 5 stories, whatever it is, and one of them is like, it's the Fifth Element. It's the first half of the Fifth Element, every part of that, with the cabbie and everything, and then, yeah. Like, even the visual motifs are like the same and stuff like that. Sorry.
It's practically an anime.
I would say no. I would say that the Fifth Element isn't really cyberpunk. Meredith, have you seen many cyberpunk movies? Have you seen RoboCop? Have you seen Akira? Have you seen Blade Runner?
I haven't. That's why I asked.
You haven't seen Blade
I haven't seen any of those either. I haven't seen Blade Runner.
Runner?
Oh, no.
Shocked because we went to film school together, not because I'm a film bro. This guy has an eclectic past. Huh. He's repossessing cars. He went to film school. All sorts of interesting things with this guy. But I have also not seen Blade Runner.
No, I've seen Blade Runner.
Okay, you've seen Blade Runner.
I haven't seen RoboCop. That's kind of why I asked about Fifth Element, because I felt like maybe that would be my point of reference here.
Okay.
But yeah, Blade Runner is really my point of reference, and
Okay.
no, I have not seen RoboCop.
Oh, wow. You definitely haven't seen Lawnmower Man, have you?
No.
We should check out all that stuff on the podcast called Midnight Local, which is available at
But not Lawnmower Man.
Midnight Local, or wherever you get your podcasts. I don't know. What are your thoughts, though, on the whole, like, do those things matter if you're that far removed from the time and place when those symbols were injected into something, assuming they were there to begin with?
I guess I always reacted the same way you did. That's why I asked about Fifth Element, because there's a lot of the, like, anything that takes place far in the future, the Eastern and the Western cultures have intertwined. And I sort of took that in the same way you did. That's like, well, we're a global society, everyone's connected, so of course these things are gonna bleed into each other. But I guess another interpretation of that is like Eastern consumerism has taken over.
Yeah, maybe that's on you. Maybe that's on the viewer, just be like,
Maybe.
Man, I guess if you're like a racist, you would see that and be like, God dang it, where are the Americans at? I don't know, maybe. Well, that's it for this episode of How to Drink. We did another Cyberpunk. I don't know what else we're going to do from Cyberpunk. I know people want me to do Maine. I'm sure we'll find more things. There's a sequel coming out to 2077. That's good news for me. I'm sure there'll be more Edge Runner since it was such a hit on Netflix.
It was a hit.
Actually, I'm not
If there's more Edge Runners, I'll watch more Edge Runners.
sure of anything with Netflix. They seem to cancel whatever they feel like. But thank
Yeah.
you guys so much for watching. I have done an episode on Johnny Silverhand. I've done an episode on Jackie Wells. I've done an episode on David Martinez, and now Rebecca and V. There's a lot of cyberpunk content here on How to Drink. I'm going to put it up there. I'm going to put it in the pinned comment. I'm going to put it up there, all around. But I've also been making the show for a long time, and if you like this show, you can check out the other episodes. Going once, going twice, going 3 times, 4 sold. Thank you for coming on down to How to Drink, and we'll see you bing, bang, bing, bing, on another episode of How to Drink. Boom, boom, bang, bang, bang.
Okay. Well, if y'all want me to look at the David Martinez one, I'll do that too. Because like I said, I've seen the Cyberpunk show. I'm trying to figure out different things to put on this channel that are not just specifically anime reactions. I'm trying to look and find things that are adjacent to that as well. So that way you can get a little bit more of a rounded experience here. And you can see some more stuff, some new things, and things that are not, if you are not a patron, things that are not going to be like heavily edited, so that way you can actually still watch a full video as well. Although we would appreciate it if you joined our Patreon. It really does help us, and it allows me to do stuff like this. So yeah, if you want me to check out the David Martinez one, let me know. If there's anything else in this sphere that you want me to look at, go ahead and let me know in the comments below, and I will see you all in the next video. Thanks, bye.